Okay, thank you for coming today. It's my honor to introduce. We have Zhe Wu and Paul. Zhe Yu is, of course, a generative artist. He's quite famous in the field, especially his legendary story about on Abrax. And Paul, he's from FH. FH is actually is a very famous generative art platform. And if you are familiar with generative art, you must know FH. So let's welcome them first. And then I would like to introduce a little bit today. We're going to briefing ourselves because I'm also a generative artist. So sorry, I put my bio in Chinese, but actually I graduated from the National Taipei University of the Art, especially the new media. But after that, I have a PhD in National Taiwan University in computer science. So it's like a course discipline from the. I also graduated from the music department. So it's from music to fine art and then to the computer science. And I am also I'm now the a professor of National Taiwan University of the Art and also National Taiwan University, teaching the creative coding and the sound perspective. And I was also the former director of Taiwan Sound Lab, which is in the C Lab. But besides that, that's the job I'm doing. But I'm also a generative artist. That's why I was able to moderate this talk because I have the piece published on FH and also on Abrax and also other platforms. So I would like to quickly go through my works. So this is the works I published last year in my Hong Kong Basel with FH. That I have a generative art like this. So this is the picture. And this is the piece I published on FH. Also, it's called for second to describe the calm village. And this is the piece also on FH. It's called Recurring Cloud. And this is I work with FabDAO in Taiwan. They have it's called project by percent. That's to using the generative art to describe the mountain. And this is the piece I launched last year at Abrax that I also published works. So this is called Metaphysics. So it's been launched for 1 year. Okay, so as a generative artist, that beside the teaching job I doing, but I also wrote some project on FH. But I'm very honored to be moderate this talk because I love FH very much since they launched at the first month that I start to launch my works there. So it's very exciting to now and today they have the FH 2.0 coming just yesterday, so on Ethereum. So this is very exciting, and we will also let Joey to introduce a little bit about himself. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the introduction for Jingyao, and also very honored to be here together with FXHash. So I'm Choi Wu, and I'm a generative artist based in electrical engineering. So my background is fully kind of engineering and start to feel a little bit different when I graduated from college. I started to study new media art. So next page. So I have a lot of works, and this is what I'm famous for, like from the CHEM. Like, so someone stole my artwork and put the code on art blocks, and then we have a very huge community using this weird robot head as a symbol for the community. And also I have a lot of different dynamic NFTs like crypto poetry and also weird faces. And also this is where we start from, the Strange Robot project. Next page. So we are the family. So at that time in 2020, the time point I've been seen by the community is that people studying my work. But after that, I really devoted into create artworks with life and motion. Next page. And so this is project percentage by Jingyao Lin together. We have 5 artists working together. So we kind of tried a lot of different routes, like turning artworks from, turning this donation received into artworks. Next page. And also, I do a lot of different experience, like audiovisual one, because I really think that generative art is not only on screen or on printing. They should be an experience that we are making symbol and making experience for people that don't have art in their life. And I think that art makes more meanings when we really put that into life and into performance. Next page. So I have a lot of different works, like Soulfish, like some of that on Foundation, and some of that on work with Unit London. It's a gallery in England. And we are trying a lot of different routes just to put it into different mediums. So blockchain is a medium, but we don't fully kind of depends on that. Next page. So this is my favorite project, that is Soulfish. Try to use math and physics to make a very glowing soulfish in the sea, and that is growth by from humans' emotion. Next page. So we try to turn that into a fully physical experience. Like in the exhibition, I'm playing the piano. I'm a classical piano player, and then I try to make the fish swimming in the sea, and we are making a very huge tank. And I really think that it's a dream moment that I really turn art into something you can feel to your soul. Next page. So this is the Great Equation. We have the solo exhibition in Taipei 101 this October. Next page. And I'm in the future, I'm going to do different brand introduction based on my full name, like Cho Yu Wu, and trying to push into the generative art into the future. Next page. So this is me. I enjoy music a lot, and I really think art, music, and engineering are all from the same source. Next page. So this is some of my work. Next page. Next page. Okay. Next page. So this is the generative impressionism I'm working on, and also, yeah. Oh, this is final page. Sorry, I have different slices. And this is the work, the Soul of the Flowers, recently launched on FX Hash, and I really appreciate the platform. So, and really congrats on the 2.0 launching. Thank you.
Thank you. So we come to Paul to introduce a little bit about FX.
Sure, I'll keep it brief. Hi, I'm Paul, COO at FX Hash. What is FX Hash? As you might have heard, or might have heard from Jin Zhao and Chi Yu Wu, it is a platform that allows artists to publish generative art. It not only does allow artists to publish, but obviously also collectors to publish. We started in November of 2021, and during the last 2 years, I think we have allowed up to 4,000 artists to dive into generative art, selling up to 2 million individual artworks, and really sort of trying to become the open platform for all things considered generative art. So we started out on Tezos, now also on Ethereum, and had exhibitions essentially all across the world. In 2022, went to All Art Basels as well, and now recently also introduced more curation opportunities. For example, right now we're working also with a Taiwan-based collective called Volume DAO to push out more local artists and push those artists more sort of also into the Western world, as we think that generative art is truly a global phenomenon, as generative art, in our opinion, is the art movement of our era. And thus we also want to enable and empower essentially the global artist and the global collector community through our open ecosystem and ultimately our open tooling. Yeah, I think that's a brief introduction. Yeah, you see a few different artworks in the back, a few exhibitions that we had. But yeah, that's my brief intro.
Okay, thank you. So today, I have a few questions for the talk. Because we all know the generative. I'm not so sure if you're familiar with the generative art or not, but at this moment, the generative art often falls into two categories, for the AI generated, and there's a code generated. But today we are more focusing in the code generated because it's on the FH, and also Zheyu is also focusing in the creative code, creating. Yeah. So I would like to ask, maybe start from Pro, that could you explain the concept of FH and how it works, supposed to support the generative artist?
Okay, yes. So essentially, generative art has been around, some say far longer, 2,000 years ago, but it really started kicking off when computers have been around. So ever since computers have been around, people have been trying to make art with code. Problem with inherently digital artworks is, how do you sell that? obviously then blockchain comes into it and you suddenly have a way to sell your digital artworks with a proof of authenticity. Previous to FXhash, it was really hard for artists to sell their works, as they either had to custom code their contracts and essentially do all of the publishing on their own, or go to Artblocks, which was like a highly curated platform. Our founder is a generative artist himself, Seifert, and he really thought it's stupid that not every generative artist or not everyone interested in creative coding is allowed to sell it or is allowed to publish it. So we built an open framework, open tooling, so all of the artists can essentially upload their algorithms onto FXhash, and directly the collector base can buy it from them. Curators can curate, and that's really, like in short, I think what FXhash stands for, just like open framework, provide the toolings, and like kickstart careers in that sense.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, Paul. I have a question for Zheyu. That's what inspired you to develop into generative art, and how your cultural background influenced your work?
Yeah. So I start from a very engineering background. That is electrical engineering. I write code from when I'm in elementary school, and I really love that. Like in the Flash. Like, do you guys know Flash? Like, am I that old? No. So I start, okay. And I'm making games with Flash, making interactive websites when I'm very young. And after that, like, the world changed a lot. So I started to dive into like interactive websites. In that time, like 7 years ago, a lot of people are making interactive websites with like web shaders or different creative coding techniques. And I really think that the point I dive into generative art is that because I have a very strong emotion in art and music. And then after I graduated from college, I just thought that I don't want to get into the science part again, just do like 20 years of the same life again and again. And I really want to live something with my story and with my art inside. So I went to New York and started to learn a lot of different things like VR, AR, Unreal Engine. I think like Jingyao knows a lot of different of them, and also audio-visual performance. And I thought out that maybe code and this kind of electrical things are a medium of art. And with this medium, we can make their own sense and make them alive. And that is the thing that we're not able to do in the past years. So that's why I fall in love with generative art.
Okay. Thank you. So there will be a question for both. That how do you collaborate from the artist side and the platform side, and how you can work together in this field?
I think the easiest way for us as a platform to collaborate is sort of like use our reach and provide artists opportunities to showcase their work. I think both of you have experienced it, for example, like our exhibitions like in 2022 at Art Basel Hong Kong, or like recently, like 2 weeks or like a week ago in like Miami for you again. So really as a platform at times, we get approached to have like shows, or we have the means and ends to like have shows on our own. And then I think it is on us really to just like talk with artists, like showcase artists that are that deserve to be showcased and deserve to be like get some more attention, and really sort of like drive forward this form of art as well, and educate new people, educate new masses about why it is so interesting to collect generative art, and sort of like the way to get also in general art collecting, as it's like at times also just like a little bit cheaper to collect generative art than if you go to a gallery and have to pay up to like 5,000, 10,000 US dollars for an artwork in that sense.
Yeah. Okay. This is a question. I'll go to Zheyu. Sure. That's how you can collaborate with the platform.
Yeah, I really agree with the FXhash dream that everyone should have the access to the platform. Because like in the early stage, we have art blocks, they are doing curation works, and I think they're in different routes. But for everyone that is very interested in creative coding, just like our people who are doing like Alan Wang and also Volume Zhao, where we are doing to incubate the ecosystem, we really need a better platform to allow everyone to get into generative art and have a place to publish their work. And I really see that the potential that in FXhash 2.0 we have different blockchains, because people always tell me that Tezos is, what is Tezos? Yeah, I appreciate that the love for arts and Tezos, but I really think that we are making art more accessible, and also this kind of, like, it's like a branch of modern art. And MoMA is doing it, and a lot of different galleries are getting into it. And I really think that the next generation of art is that we are trying to find a new classic example of what is art that is alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the platform, and
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
Access.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love Hash very much because since I'm also a generative artist, that when I want to publish my works, especially like on Artbox, it takes me around like 8 months long. That since I filed an application and pass the screening and
That's very long.
yeah, very long. So it's unlike FHash that it's just something. For example, last year that we are going to we found that there's the activity protest like the white paper. So me and the other one we decide to launch our work. So we spent about like 3 days writing a work and launch it. So it's very quickly. It gives the artists a lot of freedom to develop and to talk what they want to do in this platform. So I especially thanks to the FH to their contribution and to make more generative artists able to come to the world to make the world to see how they works. Okay, so I would like to ask the Paul. Of course, it's very interesting question. There's what is the challenge that you are facing for the FH in the future and how for the generative art?
I think one of the biggest challenges really is also to sort of like continue to educate about why it is so interesting. And I mean, if you listen to the three of us, you would think, okay, we love it, everybody else should love it. But there's still like a really large sort of like perception that digital art is not really art. But I think that is like plainly wrong. We internally at FX Hash always say generative art is the art movement of our era. Why are we saying that? Essentially, if you think about how we consume media and how often we see it, like how much of our days we spend on digital screens or in front of like our phone, our laptops, our iPads, it's up to like 10 hours per day probably on average. So if we're thinking about contemporary art, why isn't there an art form that is reflective of that? Like, why isn't there art yet that is like in the mainstream that is about digital art? And I think that really sort of like is like the one thing where you have to like flip the switch, and that sort of like switch always has been flipped in the art world. If you look from each sort of like section, like impressionism, and then sort of like the eras in like Paris, the new group shows that were not approved of by the old guard of the art world, and this is exactly what we're seeing right now again. The old guard is not really approving of generative art, but it's slowly starting to trickle down. I mean, wherever the old guard can make money, they will get in on it. For example, like with Sotheby's, like Art Basel is obviously also experimenting with, but like the large scale education and large scale sort of like acceptance of generative art still is not there, but it's slowly growing. And we personally think that you can only really grow this through like bottom-up culture movement, and that is essentially what we're trying to do, always with local partners. Like we've just been in Tokyo last week, working with like Leon. Now we're in Taipei, working with Volume DAO, and we really think that that is the way to move forward and to sort of like push the overall space and yeah, just like showcase great generative art talent and the art form in itself.
There will be very excited event happen this evening.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So you're welcome to join us. Yeah. So there's another question as a direct artist that I would also like to ask Jerry. There's what's the process? How you do the creative coding, or how do you develop your work?
I think it's a relatively intuitive process for me. Like writing code, because I write code for over 10 years. So it's like speaking in another language or like playing music. I always thinking that the code itself in generative art world is the poem. So we are writing poem, we are trying to convey the story, and I think most of the time I don't have a very clear image when I start. But in the progress, I make different variations, like the stage 1 variation, I start to modify a little bit of code, and then I see the stage 2 of different variations of that. And I think that's a very beautiful process that you can only be in that process if you are have enough understanding in engineering and also art. Yeah, and also I'm a little bit curious about FX Hash, like because you are an open platform, but there's a lot of different kind of curation team, like tender arts and different partners in the ecosystem. So I really want to know a little bit of opinion of like how you balance this kind of ecosystem and how do you see the special thing of that as an open framework?
I I think in general, FX Hash as sort of like FX Hash, the company tries to, or like not tries to, but we have like a no creation policy in that sense. Because we as a platform, as an open platform, we think it would be wrong to showcase, hey, this is a good artist and you only should be allowed to buy from that artist. We really try to push that sort of like to the community or to outside creators. That is what I meant when I said sort of like building an open framework. It is not only a framework for artists, but ultimately also to like curation entities. So empowering people that have the local knowledge, that sort of like can work with artists for them to up their game in that sense, to work directly with the artist on like specific drops, to teach them, because mostly like you have to realize, like for example, Wu, like these are not artists that have been doing this for all their life long. They have been doing this maybe on the side and then found success because they're extremely talented. But they, at times, I mean, I think you have like an artistic education, right? But
Yeah.
not everybody has, and then they sometimes also need outside opinions. So providing sort of like these pathways for curators or like galleries to come in, work with the artist, but then still stay within the FXH framework is something that we're now really trying to like slowly build out, and we'll do more of in 2024. So quite excited
Looking
for that.
forward to that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Sorry, I just
No, don't.
No, no, it's
Yeah,
question
you
away.
just finished my question, so I'll go to I'll go to next page. Is that I would like to discuss a little bit how you think about the generative art, because it's a very special gen for the art, but compared to the broader the contemporary art, that's how you think that in the future that the generative art can go into the contemporary art, the art field.
Can we start from Paul?
How-
Really
It's
want
a
to
big
hear your
question,
opinion.
okay.
Okay, I think I shortly alluded to that in one of my previous answers. I think generative art can be a really easy pathway for collectors to get into art collecting. I always say when you, for example, go to a street and ask any random passer, any random like walker there, what is your favorite artist? Like a lot of people will look at you and be like, I don't know, and also I'm not supposed to know. If you ask them what is your favorite musician or your favorite song, they will be able to tell you that. And the art in itself has been put on such a high pedestal that a lot of people don't think they are supposed to know. But that is wrong. Well, why shouldn't you know about art? Like I go to a museum and I like the art that I look at. But ultimately, a lot of people are not allowed or cannot afford to collect something, because the only way to collect right now for a large majority of people is go to a gallery and then spend, I don't know, 50,000 Taipei dollars or like 5,000 US dollars. Like it's just way too expensive. And generative art allows for a much easier break-in point, especially through like open platforms. So on FX Hash, you can collect really amazing art for like up to like $5, $10. Obviously, you can also spend much more. But I think that is like a sort of like the way that we can get more people to enjoy the art again, to enjoy museums. And now when I start to museums or to galleries, and there's some amazing galleries here in Taipei, I visited some yesterday, I always start to see sort of like this generative process of the artist, sort of like always searching for randomness, searching for like a series. And I think that is sort of like one way where we can and will continue to mingle and interact with the traditional art world in that sense.
I think for me, the special points there are two. One is I can really turn artworks into a real life in generative art. We're kind of like buying a seed, and that seed will growing into a different plant, and we can even decide that plant, the appearance of that plant based on the data, based on all the data, like all the things in the real life in blockchain, and that it grows into unique pieces. I think that's the organic part, and that doesn't, we don't have the technique to do that until the blockchain and also this kind of platform exists. And the second one is that I think the community is a great part, because in the past world, we can only sell one of the world. It's a one-off one. You can spend like 5,000. We don't really have that good prices in Taiwan. But
I went to a gallery yesterday that
Yeah.
quoted me 45,000 for some pieces.
Yeah, for like very, like it's a very like hard places for artists to get to that place. But I think the community part is special, because when people collecting generative art, like there's like 200 or 1,000 of editions, they become part of your brand, part of your community. It's more like in the NFT kind of projects, but they are more solid, and they will support you. Like they are not only buying your art, but also joining your life. I really think that is a very powerful and organic things in the future, that we are kind of make ourselves into token and stocks. So maybe that's a little bit too to blockchain. But yeah, but that really empowers artists to do something they love and become themselves, and people will pay for them and let them be alive in the world. Like that is hard.
Yeah, great. I think there's finally that's I have very interesting question because every time when we go to the FH, that we see the label art is evolving. So I would like to ask the how FH is going to evolve in the future.
Um, I think right now, so the way we started our product philosophy as a platform really has been artist first in the beginning. As again, our founder is a generative artist, and he essentially just wanted to build the platform that he wanted to have for himself. So we've pulled out a lot of artist tooling in the past, and I think that is also reflected of the opinions of generative artists. Most of them say, like as the two of you like gracefully said, like that you love FXhash and the platform and the tooling that it provides. But I think now we are much more going into providing and building the tooling for collectors as well. So like how can they showcase their art? How can they interact with the artists that they have collected and love from? How can we ensure that galleries and museums get onboarded into this? Because a lot of museums are interested in it, but their skill set is not in blockchain. Their skill set is in curation. Their skill set is in education, and just offering like easy on-ramps for them to like dive deep into the generative art world. That is, I think, one of the bigger challenges that we want to complete in 2024, and then just keep up with the market. There's like more platforms coming up, which is good because it shows interest, but it also obviously competition increases sort of like the need for you to improve on your own, but it also like it just ups the baseline of what you want to as a platform. So always like a little bit of catching up to do and a little bit of like product involvement and like creating new awesome experiences, especially also with like installations and like really driving down sort of like what generative art can be, because it cannot only be, okay, let's show it and put like a algorithm on the screen, but it can also be interactive experiences where you as the collector can interact and ultimately craft your own piece based on some parameters that the artist gives. So really that is, I think, what we want to try out in the next year and yeah, have fun with it.
That's very excited. So I would like to tell you that how, because I see Joe is evolving a lot. So I would like to see how you evolve in the future.
You evolve a lot too. Yeah, so I think for me, I think it's more hard to evolve into the artist I'm imagined, because I want to decouple artists, like the artist's work with economy, with blockchain a little bit, because that really turns me into a little bit like too money focused, or I'm focused on not art itself, but creating the story, creating the community. And I saw some of the great generative artists like Taylor Hobbs, they turned into like kind of like 2 months break and just get away from Twitter and trying to do something they love. And I think that's the way artists really, they need to create more powerful works and have their own life story. Though we are all in the ecosystem blockchain and generative art, I still feel that we have to live our own life to create something that is truly exceptional. Yeah.
I think that's why we are all here. We are also in love with generative art. So I would like to give maybe you have some question you want to ask our talkers today. Is anyone want to have a question? Anyone?
Too shy.
Yeah, yeah, please.
Thanks for the great discussion, conversation. I have a question to Paul. Well, first, congratulations to the FXChat 2.0 yesterday. It was a celebration, right?
Yes.
Can you tell me how you feel right now and how it
No, I stayed up till like I think 2:30 a.m. So I'm like a bit tired, but it's all good. No, I think it's just like a really cool. So for those that don't know, like yesterday we launched our Ethereum integration, which we've worked on essentially like the last half year on to like expand our sort of like collector base, but also as sort of like give artists a chance to attract more collectors, make a little bit more money, especially if they're like are full-time artists. That's obviously really important to them. Yeah, I think like I'm feeling quite good about it. Like we have seen like some amazing drops, some like self-release, for example, like Tyler Boswell. I think that is like what I minted yesterday, which is quite nice. But then also what really excites me the most, I think, is sort of like going to like an exhibition opening later at 4 p.m. today that we're doing together with Volume DAO that showcases like Taiwanese artists. So I think partially they have been released yesterday, some will release today. Yeah, I'm just like super happy with how it went. It has been like a lot of hard work for our developers, and it's just good to showcase that we can now finally do like really like do events and do gallery openings and all of that at a global scale, not only in US and Europe, but also especially here in Taipei, which is actually one of the biggest cities of our user bases that we are in.
I minted 3 yesterday.
Thank you.
I have a feeling the gas is insane on Ethereum.
Yeah, it's
That's true, you know.
yeah.
So we still got the time to maybe one more question. Anyone? Yep.
Martini.
What's up? All right. My question is, so you guys mentioned like code as a medium, right? I'm also wondering, like, have you seen like art on, like, well, you guys definitely have seen, but like blockchain itself as a medium, because blockchain, it's a very diverse or different thing from just the code itself, right? And so I'm like wondering like your experience on that and thoughts around that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. I brief in. I think blockchain helps the generative a lot, very much, because when we were a digital artist, that's what we do is that it's very duplicable, because every time you render something, it's randomly transforming. This it's non-stop, but it's also reduce its value because it's transformed a lot. So the audience or the collector is not able to get the memorialize what it looks like, but with the help of a blockchain, it's just like freezing the time into in a moment, and with the moment that you are able to get the piece. So it's also give. I think it's also give a life to the generative art, to another opportunity to make it so treasure for this part, and that's I think it's also create a very interesting way for the artists and the collectors.
Yeah, a little bit word. I think blockchain as a medium is super interesting. Like POC, they are creating balls that can merge, and also some game mechanism that can like just you can merge two different NFTs and making it into a new work. And I really think that's the powerful way, and I really want more technical support for that. I'm not that falling into contract, but I'm really want to like it's very playful.
Yeah, I mean what the two of them said, but I think if you, like some artists, for example, like Kim Assendorf, sort of like utilizing blockchain as a medium, it's super interesting what they do. Or for example, Norwegian artist Björn Stahl, he'll soon release something on FXhash which actually utilizes sort of like the ETH chain and the test chain and then sort of like connects the two pieces. So really it's about like interlinking the blockchain and not only using it as sort of like your transaction layer, but really using it as like a core principle of your artwork. And I think that's quite powerful and also quite interesting and really cool if you like stuff like that.
Okay, thank you. We are running out of time, so thank you, Paul and Joey, and thanks for your coming today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.